everybody, the Super Vader 400 here, back for another retro review, and this time I review one of the very first Raws from 1995, the January 16th episode of Raw, which was the final Raw to the build-up of the 1995 Royal Rumble, and of course, this was part of WWF's famed New Generation era, and I must say, after watching this episode of Raw, love this episode of Raw. It was an awesome episode of Raw. This Raw was even better than the Royal Rumble event that came afterward. The first match of the night was a tag team match between Bob Sparkplug Holly and 1-2-3 Kid versus the Heavenly Bodies led by Jim Cornette. This was an awesome tag team match to start the show. I wish modern wrestling would go back to that, immediately starting the show off with a match instead of a promo. And this was an awesome back and forth match. The crowd was really hot into the match, and the match ended in spectacular fashion where Jim Cornette distracted Bob Sparkplug Holly, allowing the Heavenly Bodies to try to hit a suplex on 1-2-3 Kid. 1-2-3 Kid reverses Bob Holly comes out of nowhere and spears one of the Heavenly Bodies. Then 1-2-3 Kid reverses one of the Heavenly Bodies into a fisherman suplex of his own for the 1-2-3. Awesome way to end this awesome tag team match. Then, of course, the next match of the night was the debut of the wrestler Mantar. Okay, a lot of people didn't like Mantar, but I was a huge fan of Mantar. I thought he was a really cool gimmick. The dinosaur costume he wore out to the ring was a little bit much, but I thought Mantar was awesome. He was like a cartoonish Samoan Joe, and he was very similar to Bam Bam Bigelow, in my opinion. But that's just me. Mantar, of course, he squashed Jobber in his debut. It was a good squash match. Then, of course, there was a backstage interview to hype up the match between Bret Hart and Jeff Jarrett on this show with Bret Hart with William Shatner. William Shatner was pretty good in this segment. I didn't like his involvement in the match, but he was pretty good in this segment. Yeah, I really don't like celebrity involvement in wrestling. It is good when it's done right, but yeah, I really don't like celebrity involvement in wrestling. They always take the spotlight from the wrestlers, or bury the wrestlers. Of course, the next match of the night was the match itself. It was Bret Hart versus Jeff Jarrett. In a phenomenal match. The crowd was into it. Bret Hart and Jeff Jarrett, two of the best wrestlers ever, going at it. The only thing I didn't like was Shatner's involvement, but even that, the crowd made that awesome too. So why I don't like that? The crowd made it awesome. It was just an awesome match. Bret Hart wins the match with the sharpshooter, and Shatner nails the roadie. The next match of the night was the next segment was, of course, a promo featuring Ted DiBiase's $1 Million Corporation stable, Tatanka, King Kong Bundy, Bam Bam Bigelow, talking about their plans for the Royal Rumble and their plans for their tag team title match at the Royal Rumble with Sparkplug Holly and 1-2-3 Kid. It was an awesome segment and an awesome promo. This is where a promo, in my opinion, should be. Then, of course, you had the main event. Now, I'm kind of mixed on having a main event, having a jobber match as the main event. That Bret Hart and Jeff Jarrett match, in my opinion, probably should have been the main event. This is probably the only thing I don't like about the show. But the main event was pretty good. It was the big Mabel, squashing a jobber in a pretty good competitive match, in a pretty good competitive quick squash match, and then hyping his entry into the Royal Rumble. Then King Kong Bundy comes out and tells him no, he's gonna win the Royal Rumble. Then the show closes with a promo package for Diesel, who of course was WWF champion at that time. Like I said, this was an awesome episode of Raw. It actually makes me hyped to see the to go watch the Royal Rumble pay-per-view again, despite how much I really don't like the Royal Rumble 1995 pay-per-view. There was some good stuff on that pay-per-view, but in my opinion, the Royal Rumble 95, mostly because of the Royal Rumble itself, in my opinion, was just not that good of a pay-per-view. But this was an awesome episode of Raw. The only problem I have was I think Jeff Jarrett and Bret Hart should have been the main event of this show and not a squash match. That's the only thing I don't like about the New Generation era. I love the New Generation era. The only thing I don't like is the bucking at times. All right, the Super Vader 400 out.